Akademiks can't run away.
There is some news coming down. So, Kentucky Derby winner Megan Thee Stallion has lost in court to Milagro Cooper after the judge made it clear that she would not go forward with a dress-in or actually putting what's called a permanent injunction, a injunction that would bar Milagro Cooper from ever speaking on her again. Now, there was something of the sort put in place against Tasha K for Cardi B. Remember, this idea is that basically Meg Thee Stallion and Roc Nation decided to spend $2 million to basically try to intimidate a blogger and claim that she defamed her because she wasn't like believing that Tory did whatever to her. And they took her to court for defamation, among other things. And the court actually struck down, or the jury actually struck down the defamation claim, basically because they said, hey, well, in reality, she's part of the media. You never gave her proper warning that she was operating and she was doing things that was considered defamatory. So that was dropped. Meg Thee Stallion did win some type of judgment, but it had nothing to do with defamation. It was something about promoting a deep fake image, which supposedly Milagro had told people, oh, there's a video purportedly of Meg doing some stuff. Apparently the video wasn't even real, right? So that's what she did win for, but defamation got struck down. Regardless, Meg Thee Stallion has been desperately trying to win some type of legal, get some legal consolation prize to make people feel like it was worth spending up to millions of dollars to sue this woman. And according to the judgment, she only was awarded in the end pretty much like, I think it was like $50,000. So think about this, spending $2 million to get $50,000. That sounds like a really good investment, right? Of course. Now, of course, all the little Meg Thee Stallion and Roc Nation, shills, they were like, yeah, sue everybody. When are you going to sue Ak? Sue Ak next. Shut up, okay? Meg is a liar. I said it from day one. I'm going to say it till the end, okay? She wasted her money. She looks like Boo Boo the Clown, all right? And the judge, even though she was very, in my opinion, impartial and was biased towards Meg Thee Stallion, even she could not go to the lengths of granting motions of putting a permanent injunction, which would mean she could bar Milagro Cooper from ever talking about Meg Thee Stallion. And by the way, that is what these Roc Nation people want to do, right? Like, if they could sue me now and be like, yo, you could never talk about Jay-Z, of course they would want that. You know why? Because every time I'm exposing all the scummy shit he did, the niggas he finessed, all the weird shit in his history, they don't want that to be out there. That's why they keep trying to follow all these stuff. So if they could get a judge to ban me from talking about that, of course they would want to do it. So they're trying on a shorter level to see if they could do it. So they try to ban this Milagro girl from ever talking about Meg Thee Stallion. And the judge basically said, fuck off, both to Roc Nation and to Meg Thee Stallion, basically saying that y'all can't stop someone's First Amendment rights, the right to free speech. Not because, you think you have all this money. We don't give a fuck. The Constitution reigns supreme. So again, it was a motion for entry of a permanent injunction for cyber stalking. So they're considering Milagro, who's a blogger, who would be covering news stories. They're saying that she is cyber stalking if she mentions Meg Thee Stallion from now on. Basically, they want her never to talk about her because she doesn't like Meg Thee Stallion. You know what I mean? She's critical of her. She's whatever. So it says the court has reviewed both written submissions and the record and applicable law. And for the reasons, the motion is denied. Okay, they go through background, a bunch of background, and this was a really long response by the judge. Looked like the judge actually really looked at it. And it said the legal standard is that the courts have broad discretion deciding whether to award injunctive relief. And injunctive relief could be, banning someone forever talking about or contacting or whatever. And it said the standard for a permanent injunction is essentially the same for a preliminary injunction, except that the movement must show actual success on the merits based on the likelihood of success on the merits. Okay. Upon prevailing on the merits, to obtain a permanent injunction, a plaintiff must demonstrate: 1, she suffered irreparable injury; 2, her remedies at law are inadequate; 3, the balance of hardships weigh in her favor; and 4, a permanent injunction would not disserve the public interest. Okay. Now, clearly, number 4 is the thing that we're all going to care about. While Roc Nation and specifically Meg Thee Stallion seeks to try to suppress the voice of independent media members who might critique her, whether we think she got a big ass foot that looked like a hoof, whether we think her music sounds like fucking garbage, whether we think she's a fucking liar, whatever people's opinions about her might be that might not be in her favor. Again, we're talking about opinions here. We're not talking about like straight up, like, no one's saying like she's a monster from Mars with 3 heads and she has 19 toes. Nobody's saying that. But if someone says, man, Meg made some fucking garbage ass music. Yo, Meg sound like she be on some whole shit. These are opinions. And that's what you're actually protected under the First Amendment. And also, the thing is, she is a public figure. When you're a public figure, the standard of what would be considered malicious and also defamation, it raises to a very extraordinary circumstance. You got to have a thick skin to be in this shit, baby. You can't be just making millions of dollars, and as soon as somebody say they think you ugly, you fat, they say something that might even be an ad hominem, but it's just an opinion that, you know, that doesn't go into maybe like, you know, invading your privacy when it comes to your health, or, you know, they're accusing you of a crime necessarily. Yeah, it doesn't work like that. You know, people could say, yo, forever and always, you'd be like, Meg Thee Stallion music fucking sucks, right? They can't sue you for that, but that's what they try to do. So Roc Nation's trying these bully tactics, and we got to point it out when they fail. And they failed this time. And, you know, Desiree Perez has egg on her face. Sean Jay-Z Carter has egg on his face. And Milagro, we don't know what the fuck she got on her face, but she got something, okay? Anyway, let's keep it going. So it says the plaintiff may not obtain a double injury for the same, a double recover for the same injury. And here's it goes. So it says cyber stalking. All right. Okay. Here we go. In joint, the parties ask the courts to decide whether it was there. So the judge is going off what the jury said. The plaintiff argued that she already established the requisite element of success on the merits because the jury considered the evidence and found the defendant liable for defamation, okay, and also promotion of a sexual, altered sexual depiction, which is the deepfake, whatever. The court is not so convinced. First, by the way of example, to prevail on a claim of cyberstalking, the plaintiff must prove that the defendant acted willfully, maliciously, and repeatedly. The Florida standard jury instructions define willfully and knowingly, intentionally and purposely, and maliciously as wrongfully, intentionally, without legal justice or excuse. Okay, the jury found that the defendant acted intentionally and reckless. Okay, cool. All right. I'm trying to find second the statute. A communication serves a legitimate purpose when there's a reason for to contact the person. So basically, they're gonna kind of like, you know, kind of say that if she's doing her job in media and she's speaking about something that she could give commentary on, or she's doing some investigative work, or she's covering something where Meg Thee Stallion is a part of. You know, number one, she's serving the public interest, number one, because that's what media does. But also, there is, unless there's something else that's shown where maybe you have like some messages between her and someone saying, I'm going to make Meg look like the worst person in the world. How could you prove that she has malintent? Okay, cool. All right. Okay. Plaintiff okay. So in short, all right. But the plaintiff arguments overlooks the other findings. The jury concluded the defendant regularly disseminated news or information to the public. They operated for the purpose of informing the public about matters of public concern through news report, analysis, or commentary, and functioned in the same manner to traditional news media. I'm really glad that this federal judge, and by the way, shout out to you, Miss Oltonga, I think that's her name. You know why this is important? Because not only was Roc Nation and Meg Thee Stallion trying to take a stab at free speech, they were trying to take a stab at independent journalists. And they, along with, I would say, Megan Cuniff, who she might have like that license for being like a legit journalist, but their whole thing is that they want to have super preferential treatment over people that have independent media, companies. So if you have a YouTube channel, but you cover stories or you whatever, like, they want to be like, oh, well, we've written articles or we or we went to school for journalism, so we're better. No. The courts is now clearly saying, not because someone just has a blog, not because someone just has a Twitter account, not just because someone has a stream or a YouTube account where they're covering the news, means that they don't deserve the same amount of protections as legitimate or traditional news outlets. By the way, remember when I was dragged into federal court when they wanted to motion to compel, because I said in a deposition, they said who gave you the information and that was supposedly later revealed to be in this DNA report that was under an order of protection. It said, how did you find out? And I said, listen, well, just to let you know, even if I would tell you, and it said, even if I did know, I wouldn't tell you. Now, granted, I answered the question later, which was, I don't remember, which I didn't remember. I don't recall. I was hitting with why I said Woody. I don't recall. However, they dragged me to court because they claimed that I initially refused to answer. And the whole conversation in court turned to this. If Akademiks is operating as a journalist, he does get what's called shield protection, that he does not have to give up his sources or be forced by a court to whatever, unless it's like a matter of I forgot what it is. It has to be like somebody about to die or some shit like that. But yeah. And eventually, because I could tell Rock Nation's whole thing was trying to bleed people of money, right? Like they were trying to just bleed people of, financial resources. Like, for example, my normal lawyer for that gig, they wanted $25,000 to even step across Rock Nation. I said, don't worry, I got this. Anyway, I represented myself, but the judge was very smart, and the judge kind of also realized he wasn't dealing with no dummy either. But the judge said in that case, this is a Jersey judge, the judge said, I'm not going to make any specific ruling that could be used as case law, right? Because the judge realized I said I backed down on trying to evoke a shield law in terms of me being a journalist to protect my source. I said, Judge, I initially said that I'm evoking this idea of the shield law, that I don't have to give up my sources, but I later then did give up my sources, and I gave it up willingly. And they said, well, what'd you say? I told him I didn't remember. So I was like, okay, all right, I won't even use that. So they said, who is it? I don't remember. And the judge looks at me and says, all right, if I granted another hour and they ask you the same thing, do you think it would jog your memory? I said, I drink a lot of alcohol, Your Honor. I don't think I'll remember then, but if it suits the court, I'll try to sit across from all 7 of them attorneys getting paid $4,000 an hour, and I'll try to see if I could jog my memory. Lo and behold, my memory never came back. Amnesia's a bitch, isn't it? Anyway, I sat there and told him I didn't remember. Anyway, the judge in that particular, motion, the Jersey judge, he said, I'm not going to put anything on the record that could be ever used, that if anyone else ever wants to file a motion, that it would categorize Mr. Allen, me, as either definitively a member of the press or definitively not a member of the press. His words, and I think his last name is Day. Shout out to him. His words directly was, in cases like this where media is evolving, media protections does also exist for YouTubers, streamers, and whoever else in new media, as long as their actions in that particular situation does meet the level of providing the public with the service of conveying information with certain standards. And I like that they did that. You know why? Because it was a big failure for Mrs. I forgot what her name is. Joanne, her last is Joanne something over at Quinn Emanuel and Rock Nation. So I hope that 200,000 that was paid by Jay-Z, I hope that went up in flames after they got nothing out of trying to, I don't know what they were trying to do to me. And clearly they're getting their ass whipped again because the judge is saying, we're not going to let you blanketly take someone's right away because you think you have like some type of claim. All right. Anyway. All right. So now they're talking about irreparable harm and shit like that. Okay. So remember Meg Thee Stallion was saying she lost out on $30 million, this and third. Like, come on. Now, it was interesting because they try to set up a lawsuit with me. I don't know if you guys remember it. When in the deposition, they kept asking me, and remember, you're on the record. So when you say it, you're on the record. This is why people usually go with an attorney. They said, do you believe that Meg Thee Stallion committed perjury? Now, the reason why they asked that question is that they're asking me directly if I'm accusing Meg Thee Stallion of breaking a law, right? Now, they could use that statement to say, well, you've said that she's a criminal. Like, she should be charged or she should be whatever. And, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Listen, I had to get sturdy on them real quick. You know what I mean? I hit him with the, you know what I mean? Like, I just come on, stop playing with me. All right, come on. Like, I don't know what type of idiots this shit work on, but I just got sturdy on them niggas and just got out of that. So I said, listen, perjury is a legal standard and a definition that the DA could talk about because that would be a crime. And I'm not a DA. I don't have powers to charge Meg Thee Stallion. So I don't know if she commits perjury. You got to ask that to the DA. Now, let's get to what I'm talking about. Do I think she lied? Yeah, she lied. They try to conflate it like, isn't lying perjury? And then I said, one's a crime, okay? I lied to all the bitches. That's not no goddamn crime. Lying on their oath, that's the crime. See? They tried to do it to me, but I hit them with the sturdy, you know what I mean? I hit them with the pop smoke shit, you know what I mean? They couldn't really handle that shit, man. After that, I could tell they were seething, you know what I mean? They just kept billing Rock Nation. Fuck out of here, you know what I mean? Like, fuck out of here. You know what I mean? Yo, where all them niggas that be like, yo, Ack and Joe Budden's next. Fuck out of here, nigga. We ran that budget up. Well, they got a new budget this year, but last year we ran that budget up on them niggas. You know what I mean? Like, I know Meg, Rock Nation, and Jay is paying through the ass, nigga. They probably thought we got it. I was like, nigga, I told you, I got sturdy on them bitch ass nigga. Anyway, all right, cool. All right, cool. All right. So the plaintiff, Meg is saying that the money damages are inadequate because despite the jury's verdict and a court judgment on damages, the defendant continues to post content that causes her harm. Okay, plaintiff has not shown any of the content, and so they said Milagro keeps saying shit, but they haven't shown what she said. So nor does she point to new content that's causing injury, so they haven't done that. Indeed, the defendant advises that her prior pages have been deleted and are inaccessible and no longer exist, which means Milagro is not using old pages or some pages that might have content that could have been considered whatever. She's no longer access them. Said no, the irreparable injury requirement may be satisfied with demonstrating a history of past misconduct give rise to the future injury is imminent. Anyway, plaintiff does not dispute, but blah, blah. Okay, all right, cool. I'm going to get through this real quick. The described post-verdict conduct for which cyberstalking was fined does not satisfy the definition of cyberstalking. It does not contain a course of conduct to communicate or to be communicated, words, images, language through the blah, blah, blah. Okay, cool. Where the communication caused substantial emotional distress, da, da, da. Okay, cool. Even accepting that a defendant's post-verdict posts and words pertain to the plaintiff does not explain how a reasonable person would experience substantial emotional distress from these posts and words alone. Nor does she know that the defendant post would serve no legitimate purpose. So they're basically saying that I don't even know if it's still Quinn Emanuel who's the lawyers for this, because I think there was another law firm that took over for like some of the appeals and motions, but we'll see in the bottom. Okay, cool. They said on December 1st, 2025, a statement on Instagram Live that she's going to start working on her mixtape because apparently the only place you could bully people and talk crazy and pop shit is in the studio, but anywhere else is off limits, you know. So she going to get on her mixtape shit and make sure she channels all her energy into her raps. Okay, cool. All right. Okay, let's keep it going. All right. Cool. The jury has already found blah, blah, blah. All right. Plaintiff does not provide the court with any reason to believe that a defendant who is not accused of creating or initially posting a deepfake video and voluntarily removed her post has not been adequately deterred by the judgment awarding the plaintiff damages. That was the $50,000. Potential recovery of reasonable attorney fees and costs. Okay, following the trial, the defendant has acknowledged that she's learned a lesson and expressed regret that someone was hurt because of her words. At the bottom, the plaintiff offers no arguments or evidence sufficient to persuade the court that she will suffer irreparable harm if Okay, cool. All right, baby. All right. Now, these are the things that should be. It says the First Amendment prohibits all restraints on future speech. Okay, and the First Amendment generally prohibits government, including the judiciary arm of the government, from dictating what we see, read, speak, or hear. Courts are divided in whether previous restraints of defamatory statements violate First Amendment, and some courts suggest that the remedy per se unconstitutional, while some leave it open to possibility under some circumstances following an injunction following trial could be the whatever. Okay, cool. It said even if the court was inclined to adopt the modern approach, doing so would not assist the plaintiff here. Generally, a judgment provides a strong incentive for a defendant to remove any statements because Okay, so they're saying, yo, you getting $50,000, like that's it, shorty. Like, well, what more you want? Like, what fucking more money you want? You know what I mean? You got It's a $50,000 is 50,000 reasons for her not to do it again. We're not gonna tell her she can't ever speak your name again. Fuck out of here. Okay, so then it says the request is not tied to any statements uttered since the trial, and the court's conclusion is bolstered by Florida law. And they've consistently found that injunctions are not available to stop somebody from uttering insults or falsehoods. Okay? See, that's another thing. You know? So if Milagro wanted to say, oh, she's a hoe, she's this, like, yeah, those are insults, whatever. Angry social media postings are now common. Jilted lovers, jilted tenants, attention-seeking bloggers spew their anger into fiber optic cables in cyberspace. But analytically and legally, these rants are essentially electronic successors of the pre-blog solar complaint holding up poster on the public sidewalk in front of an auto dealer that proclaimed, "Don't buy here, only lemons from these crooks." Existing and prospective customers of the auto dealership considering such posters made up their mind based on their own experience and research if and when a hypothetical complaint with the poster walked over to the showroom and threatened violence. However, previously protected opinion crossing the border of land of trespass, business interference. Okay, so he's just defining what he's about to say. Okay. At bottom, plaintiff proposed permanent injunction directed at defendant's future's speech is overboard, and a classic example of a prior restraint on speech that triggers First Amendment concerns. On this record, plaintiff has not demonstrated why the need for the permanent injunction outweighs the defendant's future exercise of her First Amendment rights. In conclusion, for these reasons, it is ordered and adjudged that the plaintiff, Megan Stallion, aka Megan Pete, motion for entry of permanent injunction against cyberstalking is denied. Okay? Is so done and ordered in Miami, Florida on the 20th of April. Damn. Oh, shit, Chad, it's the 420th, huh? Ole. 420. All right. Okay. All right. So, big win for Milagro. Big win for independent media. It goes to show we will not be bullied. The courts are agreeing. Meg need to get tougher skin. And get her ass back in the studio and stop wasting all that Rock Nation money with lawyers who are just running up the budget, okay? She did all that shit for nothing, and I'm glad that she basically, is learning an important lesson. We don't agree with posting deepfake videos, but she did get a judgment for that. But in trying to silence somebody from giving their opinion about her or not believing her, it's clear and now put into the history books that the judge gave her a little spanking, okay? Shut the fuck up. If niggas don't believe you got shot, who gives a fuck? Shut up, all right? Anyway, let's keep it going. What's up with y'all? Y'all good? We breaking this shit down here, huh? We breaking this shit down. All right. Are we getting to the Ben 10 stuff already, or what we doing, chat? What we doing? Y'all tell me what we doing. I don't know. So much things that we could talk about. We did the Ice Spice stuff already. Before I get